The film opens in shadowy elegance, a large, opulent theater where a ballet recital is underway. Golden chandeliers flicker overhead, casting soft light over the stage. A young ballerina performs with eerie grace, spinning and leaping like a porcelain doll brought to life. Her name is Abigail. She moves with a precision beyond her years, her face expressionless, focused. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, far from the soft orchestral melodies and red velvet seats, a black van pulls up to a lavish estate under the cover of darkness. Inside the van sit 6 strangers, rough, quiet, focused. They've been briefed, they know the job. They sneak into the massive mansion and move quickly through the halls like shadows. Later, Abigail arrives home from her recital, her hair still pulled back tight, her slippers resting beside her bed. She sits down, exhausted, speaking quietly on the phone with her father. In her room, something stirs. A whisper of motion near the wardrobe. She hears it, turns her head, but sees nothing. From the shadows of her room, the kidnappers silently approach. One of them swiftly covers her mouth as another injects her with a sedative. She struggles briefly, then goes limp. They work fast and careful. One of them zips her into a soft containment bag, cradling her like cargo, not a child. Within seconds, they're out the window and into the van without alerting the household staff. Their van disappears into the night. They drive for miles, deeper and deeper into the forest. Finally, they arrive at an old estate hidden off any main road. It looks abandoned, but it's not. Waiting for them at the property is a man in a tailored coat, standing like a ghost. His name is Lambert. He doesn't smile. He just looks at them one by one and lays down the rules. They must stay in the house for 24 hours. They must guard the girl. No one leaves. No one contacts the outside world. He takes their phones, cutting off their link to anything beyond this forest. He doesn't tell them who the girl really is, only that her father is rich and dangerous, and that if anything goes wrong, his men will come. The ransom is set at $50 million. Until that wire clears, no one goes anywhere. He hands them new identities, no real names. From now on, they are only who he says they are. Joey, the medic. Frank, the former NYPD cop. Sammy, the arrogant young hacker. Rickles, the silent sniper. Peter, the mob enforcer. Dean, the wild-eyed getaway driver. These names are all they have now. Now alone, the group stands in the silence of the mansion. They settle in, locking doors, covering windows, checking perimeters. But inside, doubt grows. Who is this girl really? Some suggest she's the daughter of a politician. Others say a tech mogul. Or worse, arms dealer or cartel king. Joey keeps her distance from the speculation. And finds the room where Abigail is being held. The girl lies still on a cot, blindfold over her eyes. She speaks with a trembling voice, asking to go home. Joey exhales slowly. She tells Abigail that she can't go home yet. Not until her father pays the ransom. She reaches and removes the blindfold. When she starts to cry, Joey doesn't know what to say. Her expression softens. She tells Abigail it's going to be okay. But she's not sure she believes it herself. In that moment, something shifts in Joey. She sees her own child in this girl, a memory buried under duty and survival. And without realizing it, she starts to care. Later, Joey sits beside Frank and asks him to promise, if the ransom doesn't come through, if everything goes wrong, not to hurt the girl. She reminds him that Abigail is just a child. Frank exhales, and looks at her sideways, irritated. He tells her that bringing emotion into a job like this gets people killed. As Abigail's not her daughter. Curious now, and perhaps a bit rattled by Joey's emotional appeal, Frank makes his way up to Abigail's room to check on the girl himself. But when he looks, the blindfold is gone. Abigail has seen his face. Frank's voice drops into a tense shout. He demands to know who her father is. She tells him her father's name is Christophe Lazar. Frank freezes. His face loses color and bolts from the room. Downstairs, he doesn't waste time. He storms into the room and throws his gear bag on the floor, declaring that he's leaving. The others sit up, confused. He tells them, Abigail's father is Christophe Lazar. The moment the name is spoken, silence falls. Everyone freezes. Christophe Lazar, a man spoken of in whispers, a myth, a monster, stories about disappearances and massacres. Joey tries to hold on to reason. She argues that they're too deep to run now. The others agree, the payout is too big. $7 million each, that kind of money can erase their entire pasts. If they just finish the 24 hours. So they agree to press on, they'll stay, but now with eyes wide open. They fan out through the house, checking every corner, every window, every hallway. The tension is visible in their movements, in the way their flashlights cut through the dark. Everyone's looking over their shoulder now. Elsewhere in the house, Dean wanders alone. His curiosity pulls him into the far corners of the mansion. He walks through the creaking corridors, letting his fingers trace the dust-coated rails. Then he stops. His eyes catch on a strange painting, a large portrait of a young girl with pale skin, who looks like a vampire, but also looks like Abigail. Dean, however, dismisses it as weird rich people art. He continues down the hall, pushing open another door. Behind him, something moves. Then a sudden force begins dragging him. His scream echoes and Sammy hears it. She heads toward the sound. She finds Dean sitting oddly still in a chair facing the other way. When she kicks the chair in frustration, Dean's head rolls off cleanly and thuds on her hands. The others come running. They see what's left of Dean. His severed neck. They stand around it, horrified, trying to understand what could have done something so brutal. Rickles immediately suspects one of Lazar's assassins, planted in their group, waiting to pick them off one by one. The rest of the group nods, fearful and uncertain. They rush to Abigail's room, convinced she's next, but Abigail is still there, lying calmly in bed. Rickles makes up his mind. He's not dying for this job. He heads to the main doors, ready to walk away. But as he pulls the door open, metal bars suddenly drop down, sealing the entrance shut. They're locked in, a steel cage sliding over every exit. Throughout the house, doors slam shut one by one. Windows lock themselves. The house becomes a prison. Joey rushes back to Abigail and asks her directly, "Has someone else been in the room with her?" Abigail, with tears forming in her eyes, says yes. She tells Joey that Frank works for her father. That he was planted in the group from the beginning. He's here to make sure none of them survive. Joey leaves the room and tells Rickles what Abigail said, that Frank's a traitor. Rickles agrees to stick close with Joey. But as he turns, his body begins to tremble. He collapses, revealing his throat has been slit open. Joey drops to her knees in shock, another one gone. Moments later, she storms downstairs and bursts into the common room where Sammy is huddled, pointing a gun in her direction and demanding to know where Frank is. Frank walks in from another hallway, confused. She levels her gun at him and accuses him of murdering Dean and Rickles. Frank is dumbfounded. He denies it. Joey tells him what Abigail said, that he's working for her father, that he's been lying since the start. Frank then tells Joey that she's being manipulated and Abigail is turning them against each other. He orders Peter to go upstairs and kill Abigail. Peter nods and leaves. When Peter arrives in Abigail's room, Joey stops him and warns them to stay away from the girl. Suddenly, Abigail releases herself from her restraints and opens her mouth, showing vampire teeth. Everyone screams and Joey fires her gun. Bullets hit Abigail in the chest, but she keeps walking forward. Frank slams the door and locks it tight. They realize that they weren't guarding a hostage, but a predator. The grim realization settles over the fractured group like a fog. Abigail isn't just any vampire. She is Valdez, the notorious and ancient vampire heir to Christophe Lazar. As the group huddles together, Frank delivers the hard truth. There's no more room for doubt or sympathy. They need to kill her, it's their only shot at survival. But Joey still sees a little girl, a scared, manipulated child, not a soulless killer. But Frank doesn't argue. He knows time is running out, and the others, Sammy and Peter, ascend the stairs together, weapons ready, their breaths tight in their chests. They approach Abigail's room, but when they push open the door, she's gone. Then, faintly, from the floor above, music. They follow the sound up another flight of stairs to the attic. There, they find Abigail dancing with Dean's decaying corpse, swaying with him like a ballroom partner. The image is grotesque. Sammy steps forward, but Abigail sees them before they can react. Frank goes down first. Abigail plunges a jagged piece of broken wood into his thigh. He howls in pain. Bruised and bleeding, they retreat downstairs, barely able to walk. Joey offers an idea. They sedated Abigail once before. It worked then. It might work again. The group, desperate and worn thin, agrees. Joey grabs a syringe and they spread out, searching every inch of the house. Sammy breaks off from the others, venturing into a separate wing of the estate. As she rounds a corner and steps into a large, darkened room, her foot slips. She falls straight into a deep, fetid pool. And full of floating limbs and decomposing bodies, dozens of corpses. As the others rush to her aid, Abigail appears. She rushes from the shadows, and shoves Frank down the stairs. He crashes hard, winded and bleeding. Abigail pins him, her claws grip his throat. Sammy leaps forward, trying to pull her off. Abigail latches onto Sammy's arm and sinks her teeth deep into her flesh. Peter grabs Abigail and pins her to the floor. Joey lunges forward and jabs the syringe into Abigail's arm. The sedative works almost instantly. Her pupils dilate, and she crashes to the floor, unconscious. But the relief is short-lived. Sammy's been bitten, and they don't know what that means. Later, Abigail awakens, now locked in a makeshift cage in the corner of the room. She smiles, telling them that everything went according to plan. She tells them there is no ransom. Lambert, the man who hired them, works for her. He brings people here regularly, mercenaries, crooks, thieves, and she hunts them for sport. Joey, Peter, and Sammy walk out, disgusted. They leave Frank sitting by the cage. That's when Abigail moves. In a blink, she shatters the bars and lunges forward. Frank screams and Joey hears him and bursts back in, flinging open a window and letting in a shaft of morning sunlight. Abigail recoils, screeching as the light scorches her arm. They go to the library, one of the few rooms where sunlight still pours in through tall, stained glass windows. As they gather their breath, Sammy speaks up, telling them she has a plan. Since the house is controlled electronically, they can find the main power source and shut it down. The doors will unlock, and they'll be able to escape. Frank and Joey agree to split up. Sammy goes with Peter. Joey stays with Frank. Sammy and Peter make their way into the bowels of the mansion, deeper into the service tunnels and utility corridors. But as they walk, something changes. Sammy pauses and suddenly, her bite mark heals. Seconds later, Sammy turns on Peter and lunges on him. She sinks her teeth into his neck and kills him. Later, Joey and Frank spot Sammy kneeling down on Peter and ask what happened to him. Sammy slowly turns around. Her eyes are empty and soulless. Joey and Frank immediately bolt, sprinting back toward the sunlit parts of the house. But as Sammy's about to lunge at them, Joey grabs a silver tray and reflects a sharp beam of sunlight to her, and the light explodes Sammy's body. They then walk through the side corridor. As they walk through the corridor, they stumble upon the control room. Standing at the center of it all is Lambert. Lambert moves before they can react, slamming Joey against the wall, pinning her by the throat. He turns to Frank. He offers Frank a deal: help kill Abigail, and he'll give him anything, power and immortality. Frank, breathing hard, eyes flickering with rage and temptation, agrees. Lambert bites into Frank's neck and feeds him his own blood. He becomes something else. But Frank turns on Lambert and kills him for setting him up in the first place. Suddenly, Abigail appears in the doorway and lunges at him. Frank catches her midair and sinks his fangs into her neck, tasting her ancient blood. Joey, seeing her chance, slips out and runs. She races toward the main exit, but when she reaches a door, she finds it locked. Frank appears and without warning, he grabs her and hurls her across the library. Frank steps forward to finish her off by throwing her to the ground, but Abigail catches her mid-fall. Abigail offers Joey a deal: help her kill Frank, and she'll let her go. Joey agrees and they fight Frank together, but Frank is nearly unstoppable. He grabs Joey and sinks his teeth into her neck, trying to turn her the same way Abigail turned Sammy. Joey begins to fall under his control. Frank commands her to kill Abigail. She steps forward like a puppet, but something inside fights back. And then she turns, stabbing Frank through the heart with a jagged stake of broken furniture. Abigail calms Joey down and tells her that she won't turn into a vampire, that now Frank is dead. Joey breathes, finally realizing she might live through this. As she's about to leave, Christophe Lazar steps into the room. Tall, regal and terrifying. He raises a clawed hand toward Joey, but Abigail steps in between them. She tells her father that Joey protected her. That she didn't try to hurt her, even when she could have. Christophe studies her silently, then decides to let Joey go. Joey stumbles and walks out of the house, and into the van and drives away. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe for more notifications. Until next time. See you soon.